The primary goal of this video is to bring the geometry spreadsheet into view so we can see both things at the same time. But this does raise a larger question of the overall organization of our scene, right? We've got our network view, we've got our parameters, we've got our scene view, but what if we want to customize this a little bit? I mean, there's a setup that I've been using for a long time that I really like, and I want to show you guys how to set it up as well. So let's do that right now. First things first, let's clean up these tabs. This is not necessary, by the way, what I'm doing right now. I haven't even done this myself, but I figure, hey, while we're all here cleaning our room, I'll clean mine too. I'll clean mine up a little bit as well. So I got some good stuff coming out of this as well. This render view tab is the first one I want to get rid of. We will go into this at a later date, but essentially there are two renderers that are native to Houdini. There is the mantra renderer, or the mantra renderer if you're a US citizen. That is the old version of Houdini's built-in renderer. This is the render view that we used to use for that. Let's close that out. Let's also get rid of the composite view and the motion effects view for now. We can always add those later. Let's also get rid of the geometry spreadsheet. If you accidentally close something that you didn't want to, let's say we got the scene view and we closed it. Whoops. Well, we can click this new tab button right here or press Control T. And we can choose what tab we want to open up. Now, you know that there's a lot of them, right? Again, the majority of the stuff is hidden underneath the surface for Houdini. It really depends on your needs. So for us, you know, in the viewers, the scene view is what we need. Now, it's also good to know how to create this because, again, if you are having a glitch in your scene view and you don't have labs installed for whatever reason, so you can't hit reset viewport, then you can just close it out, open a new pane tab type, go to viewers, and open up the scene view. And then you've got it. You can just click and drag it to reorder it as well to your heart's content. These are the only two that I think we need open for our purposes. But I do want to get the geometry spreadsheet open. And I want it to be on screen at the same time, either to the left of the scene view or to the bottom. Now, considering the majority of things that we're going to be doing in film will probably be roughly a 16:9 aspect ratio, right? It makes more sense for it to be the bottom. Because considering my actual monitor is 16:9 and this is eating into that space, 16:9 is somewhere in here. Perfect for a little bit of geometry spreadsheet right at the bottom if I want it, which I do. So let's go ahead and click this little drop down right here at the top right. And just so you know, this is the maximize pane button. If you ever want to just go full screen, well, not full screen, sorry, but you know, dominate the view outside of the tabs and bars and whatnot with your scene view, you can do that. And you can do that with any of these, right? At any time, which is great. So very handy. But I want to click the button to the right of that, the little drop down arrow. You can see it's the pane tab operations. And here is where we have a little bit of flexibility in how our panes are laid out. What we want to choose is to split the pane top and bottom. And this will create essentially a duplicate pane underneath my other one. So I'll move this out of the way. And then here is where I want to hit that plus button. I'll go to my inspectors and my geometry spreadsheet. I can now close that scene view, and then we only have one. And you'll notice in the middle, there are sections for you to click and drag to extend or contract your windows. And there's also little buttons to the left and the right, which if you click, will fully collapse or expand these things as well. And these exist on every border of every window, basically. Okay, so that's great. I'll put this over here again. Another thing that I want to do is I want to split my network view and my parameters window left and right so that I have two versions of them. I'll show you why that is. If I have a sphere and I got my camera and all these goodies, and I'll create a box, I have access to either inside of this, the parameters of this, or inside of this, the parameters of this. Now, if I am editing these in relation to one another and I'm going in here and I'm making a change here for whatever reason. Now I need to make a change to the box, so I go back out, and then I go back in here, and then I highlight this, and I, make a change here, and maybe I rotate it. That gets a little old, going out and in and out and in. There are a few ways to navigate this headache. The first is to hit Control and press 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. You see how it's saying Set Quick Mark there? This is very handy. If I hit Control 1, and then I go to another context entirely, and I hit Control and press 2, now if I just press 1 or 2 when in the network view, I jump to my quick mark. right? It's almost like a bookmark location. So you can set those up. But sometimes it's nice to have them both open at the same time. And so what we can do right here is off to the right, click that same pane tab operations dropdown, and split pane left and right. I'm going to do the same thing up here, split pane left and right, and I get a duplicate. Now I can jump into one on one side or jump into the other on the other side. The problem right out the box, though, is if I jump into one, look, it changes both. Well, that's frustrating. Luckily, there is the ability to pin things, which is just literally right here. If you look at this one, it's saying linked to the same numbered panes. So if we look at the other panes, what do we see? We've got a 1 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here. So if I make a change in here, in this pane, it's updating all these panes. But if I leave these two both as 1, because I want the parameters tethered to what's going on in the network view underneath it, but I change this by clicking and holding to 2, and then I change this to 2, now, if I go back out, we stay in. And now I've got parameter access for this, and if I go into the box here, I've got parameter access for this, right? I can do whatever changes I want. I'm going to collapse this for now just for more visibility in the scene view. You can also pin your scene view itself too. Now, right now it's following selection. Whatever you are clicking is what it is showing in the viewport. But typically I like to use this secondary portion, right? The right-hand side of this split as my additional tweaks, meaning I don't really like to visualize them. I like to keep whatever's in the left section visualized and just tweak the parameters of the right side to update whatever I'm seeing. So what I do typically is I click on the pin here, click and hold, and I let go on one there. So now this is tethered specifically to this. So just a real quick recap, changing this to 1, 1, 1. So these are always tethered, and then adding a split to 2 and 2, just so we can use it in the future. That'll come in a lot of handy. For the most part, though, I do collapse these until they're needed, and then they're just out of the way. You know, I can very quickly just pop these open and make any tweaks I need, and then shut it again. Now, if you just close Houdini after doing this, and you open it up again, everything will be back to normal. We don't want to waste time doing that every single time we open the software. And so we're going to save the layout, which you can do in this dropdown right here. It says build. This is the currently active desktop layout, right? And we can save the current desktop, meaning that the build layout will now be what we've created, or we can save the current desktop as, I'll call it Jordan's default. That's what I'll call mine. So now, in Jordan's default, we've got our splits as needed. That does raise the question real quick on what are these? Well, these are preset setups for you that you can use when doing specific things in Houdini. For example, we will typically live over the duration of this tutorial series in our custom setup, the one we just did right now, and the Solaris look dev setup, which is more for rendering and whatnot. You know, really when you're working in any different contexts, as we've kind of lightly discussed in the past, there are different default setups for tools and visualizers for the specific thing that we're working on. So, you know, the Solaris Look Dev is designed specifically for designing your lighting and layout for final render. Now, I've danced around this idea of contexts a bit, and I think it's time to make a dedicated video about it.
If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more, head to doublejumpacademy.com/Jordan for the full course. Links in the description. You're just a click away.